Hey, welcome to Rematched. So, relatively recently, I played a game of Unmatched as the Ravenous Raptors, going against the slippery Sinbad. And long story short, it got me thinking. The Raptors are the anti Sinbad. Or rather, Sinbad is the anti Raptors. Whichever you prefer. But before we get into this matchup, let me give you some background on this video. This is not a strategy guide per se, but more of my own observations and thoughts. I haven't seen anyone else's opinions on this matchup. Heck, I've only played this one game. So this isn't the ultimate perfect strategy, although I'd argue that doesn't exist. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So the map is most often overlooked when analyzing matchups. Although it doesn't matter as much as other factors, the map still plays a role in determining which player has an advantage. For my game, we played on Marmoreal. Marmoreal is a big map, meaning you can play 4 characters on it. The other main types of maps are small maps, which can only fit 2 characters. Marmoreal is one of the maps that is included in Sinbad's set, but the Raptors map, rightly named Raptors Paddock, is a smaller 2-player map. 2-player maps are tighter, meaning that movement is more restricted than in the big maps. This actually gives the Raptors a disadvantage. Their special ability, Raptors add 1 to the value of their attack cards for each of your other Raptors adjacent to the defender. Makes it so the Raptors need to surround their opponent to really rack up damage. These tighter maps make it more challenging for all 3 Raptors to be adjacent to an opponent. So when you move them over to Marmoreal, their options expand more than a ShamWow in water. But fear not, Sinbadians. The same applies to your boy. As Sinbad gains more voyages and increases his movement, a larger map makes it harder for opponents to escape your commanding impact. So it looks like, in this case, we have an even playing field. With that out of the way, what exactly makes this matchup so interesting? Well, the way I see it, there are 2 main outcomes that this game could have. One in favor of Sinbad, and one in favor of the Raptors. But to understand these 2 outcomes, we need to understand the game time that these characters operate best in. Wait, game time? What do you mean? What I mean is that different characters have different times of the match where they excel. The 2 game times that we are dealing with today are early game and late game. Pretty self-explanatory. But just in case, early game refers to roughly the first fourth of a game, whereas late game refers to the later fourth of a game. For simplicity, let's say your unmatched games typically take 20 to 30 minutes. So a short game would be 10 minutes and a long game 40 minutes. You probably see where I'm going with this. Early game characters will operate best before the 20 to 30 minute mark, while late game characters will have more of an advantage after the 20 to 30 minute mark. Okay, so maybe I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, but hang with me, because let's apply these terms to our matchup. The Raptors are an early game character, while Sinbad is a late game character. So you could argue they are opposites, or that Sinbad is the anti-Raptors. That's what I'm saying. Now, you unmatched veterans are probably like, yeah, I know this. Why should I care? Well, because I just think it's interesting. Okay, no need to be overly dramatic. So, in summary, if you are the Raptors, you need to defeat Sinbad before he goes on voyages and before he can pick you off. On the other hand, if you're Sinbad, you need to survive the Raptors and increase your voyages so that you can retaliate at the end of the game. Okay, so yeah, that was an underwhelming conclusion to all that setup, but at least you can enjoy this dope outro I wrote. As Sinbad, will you be able to exploit this weakness? By fortune and fate, will you be able to leap away for long enough to retaliate with a commanding impact and garner riches beyond compare? Or as the Raptors, are you good at working things out? This means knowing when to disengage and when to form a coordinated attack pattern to ambush your opponent and completely eviscerate them. Okay, I'll stop. Anyways, I hope you learned something from this video or at least found it slightly entertaining. If you did, consider subscribing or at least liking the video. Although don't expect any more videos like this one. And finally, last but definitely not least, have a fantastic